Hello, hello, my friends in Sasquatch Land. Hello, 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 my friends in Sasquatch Land. Discover Sasquatch is finally back in the studio after taking the month of August off for the expedition and just taking a little break. And we are back tonight with a vengeance with another Mutt and Jeff Adventure series, number 4, the Chickesaurus. I don't know too much about this, but I have a group of people backstage right now that know a lot about the Chickesaurus and how it was found and where it was found. And it's very interesting. Wait till you hear the whole story. So I'm looking forward to the program. It's a great way to start things back up. Hello, everybody. Hello, PJ Arkansas. Hello, BF Bud. Hello, Francesca. Hello, Miss Diane Fowler. Glad to see everybody back in the chat tonight. Blue-Eyed Northern's with us also. Hello, Rolling Thunder 72. And the Squatch Father himself has stopped by, Mr. Alfred Santariga. So we got a lot to cover tonight. We have 4 guests backstage. Let's see. So let's bring them out one by one. We will start how I got them loaded up here. So first member of the team that's coming out tonight, Mr. Don Monroe and Mr. Don Marriott. Hello, fellas. How are you?
Doing great. Doing great.
We're doing 100.
Oh, glad I forgot. We do have Chip is back with us in the house too. We cannot forget Chip. Chip is here. Chip is right here, and he's an important part of what goes on here. Our next guest from the desert, Miss Sharon Day. Hello, Sharon. Thank you for coming by again tonight. Yeah, you're the keeper of all Don's treasures and all his antiquities, and she's done a lot of research on this Chickesaurus, and we can't wait to hear about it all tonight. And last but not least, the man from Mississippi is with us, Mr. M.K. Davis. Hello, Mr. MK. How are you tonight?
Well, I am great. We have a bit of a pickup problem, but I'm going to train myself to talk over it.
You're still getting the echo.
I am.
And you're checked off as the echo cancellation.
I am.
Don and Sharon, we're all checked off. I don't know why we're getting echo. Is there anybody else in the audience before we roll on here getting echo? No, Al's saying we're getting an echo too. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Is that any better? Can you guys hear any more echo? Is that any better?
You sound great. I'm hearing my clearly, but double talk.
Huh. All right, we're gonna just make a quick way around the circle, and everybody in the audience, please tell us who's echoing. Don, can you guys talk first?
Okay, we want to hear.
No, we're just trying to. So MK, you're the one that's echoing. That's what they're saying.
Okay. Can you hear the double?
I can't hear you echoing.
Hello.
Chris, you don't have an echo, but everyone else does. Everybody else has an echo. And everybody's boxes are checked on the echo cancellation.
I'll go check again.
Yeah, let me check ours again.
I'm sorry, everybody. We've been trying to battle this.
Yep, we're checked.
Yeah, I have exclamation.
Who's that? UMK?
Yeah, I'm just fooling with it. Now it's still doing it.
Maybe it's your headset that you got going on.
Well, I was doing it. I tried the headset. Stop.
Right. So you have to go to your settings and go to your audio, and then at the top it says microphone. You have to pick the microphone you're using.
Okay. Got it. Am I echoing? Yep.
No, everyone has echoes except for me. I don't understand. Well, sorry, everybody. This is wasn't planned.
Testing. Just a bad echo.
I don't know how we're going to get rid of it. You can hear it coming through your speakers, that's for sure.
Testing. It's still got it.
Huh. Can you unplug those headphones that you got going? Try that.
Yeah. I just unplugged the little camera mic. And I'll plug it back up. Now I'll unplug this one. Can you hear me? Test, 1, 2, 3.
I can hear you. You're still echoing. Somebody's.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. I can't hear anybody else. As long as I have the Yeti plugged up to my computer, I have to have this earbuds. Unless I do this. Hold on. Hey. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Didn't work. All right.
Yeah, this is very strange.
Right.
I don't know. Testing. You can still hear it. Are you playing out of your speakers on your computer too, MK?
Am I what?
Are you playing out of your PC speakers too?
Yeah.
I think that might be the problem.
No. I'm not. It canceled them when I picked the Yeti up. I can't cut them off.
On that side, and that.
Well, Chris is saying that everybody's deep fast.
Check one. How's that? Is that better?
You sound good.
Well, I don't know what to do.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Still a very loud echo.
Okay, for some it might be your microphone is picking up while you're working with it. If you go down into the bar at the bottom of your screen, should be a microphone. Click on that and be sure jobs.
Change the first track. Go.
Oh, no, he's gone. Is there an echo with the three of us on here, everybody? Can we all say something?
Something.
Hear a little bit of
Is that yours now pretty well?
Okay, I'm hearing that on Dawn.
Is this,
I'm hearing
it's too bad. Well, why don't take
All right, MK, how's it going?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I got a double talk. It's not as bad.
All right, I'm just gonna try one more thing, for I don't know what else we can do. I'm gonna kick you from the studio and then have you guys log back in and punch back in. All right.
All right.
All right. Well, we're going to try and bring them back and see what happens. Am I echoing now? Yeah, solo show, Chris. Yeah, Joe. So I'm not echoing, right? All right. Well, let's see what happens when they come back. If they come back. All right. Here's MK. All right. Go ahead, MK. Say something.
Testing 1, 2, 3. It's just a echo.
You still got an echo?
Yeah.
Are you guys hearing MK echo?
I can live with it if y'all can stand it.
Well, you're not echoing anymore. All right, let's try Sharon.
Hey y'all. Little bit of delay. Not bad.
Delay for MK. There's something going on. There's something messed up.
Are we going still?
Yeah, we're still got echo for some reason. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think we're gonna have to. I don't know. We'll have to reschedule because I don't understand why everybody's echoing. It shouldn't be doing that. Everything's good on my end. Everything's checked.
It's good. I think Sasquatch.
Could be. When we come back up, I'll put Chip on there too. A little exclamation.
Yeah.
Hey, that was clear.
The last name is Cheetah.
Look, what happened?
That was clear.
You boys sound good. Yeah.
Well, you want to, yeah.
I
You
don't
got better
have any
now?
more delay.
Yeah, what do I sound like? I don't hear an echo anymore.
You sound
No,
good.
you're clear.
All
Can you all
right.
hear me?
Hey,
Am I
Yeah,
coming across?
you're good too.
Okay, good. It
All
worked.
right.
All you have to do is cancel out and it works.
How is that? Is that good for everybody?
sounds great.
Yep.
Hi.
I don't know what did it, but it sounds great.
The Chickesaurus lives in the house.
What was that? Apollo Mission 13 or whatever? Yeah. Getting there.
All right. So once again, I apologize to everybody in the chat and who's listening. I have no idea what was going on, but we're in now. So let's start it off with Don Monroe, and let's hear how we came to be how you came across the Chickesaurus in the first place. We all know you go in caves looking for the Sasquatch, so let's hear the story of the Chickesaurus.
It'll be a short story because of our time lapse, but we've lost about 25 minutes, so I'll make it very short. But basically, a young man about 12 years old told us he saw a creature go into a cave. Well, of course, I asked his mother permission to have him show us where it's at, and I already knew the cave, but I had never been in it. And I had with me Ron Roseman. He's from over in Oak Ridge, Oregon, over there, and I'm making an effort for a little museum there too next year. But Ron is an old timer in my explorations back in the day, and this cave is so filthy, and so there's more to the story I can tell now. But it was a long time ago. It says bird, and the reason that I got Chip here with his bird stuff going on is because he's respecting the chick in the story. The chick part is a huge bird that's unidentified to this day. It's been a number of years. And we crawled in that cave, and it was quite deep, and it has two parts to it. It separates the left license side, and I recognized the tracks in there of the bobcats at the time, and I told Ron to be careful and cautious. And all of a sudden, he told me the other day, he reminded me that two bobcats went over our shoulders. Well, he's, inches away. Well, it wasn't a big concern. They was getting themselves out the cave, but they don't have kittens. Well, they don't allow other bobcats in the cave. So I told Ron that that's all there is. No worries. Well, we crawled back in there quite a ways and put a light down on the different avenues in the cave as channels. And so in case you come back another way, we know where we're at. This cave was about, it's a good quarter of a mile deep. And it's very, very filthy. Rats and stuff in there for years, and who knows what. But anyway, we got back in the back part of the cave, and there's stalactites. That's overhead, coming down off the overhead deposits coming down in about 4 or 5 feet long, and then mites on the bottom. Stalagmites were growing up to them, and they fused in the middle, causing a scenery kind of like a cage of natural cave. And it was behind that cage for 10 minutes. We tried to analyze what that was back there with flashlights, and a lot of humor here. I'm going to skip it all of it, but we had a lot of what is that back there in that corner? It's about as big as a motor block of a car or a truck. And it looked like Ron had some comments, and he's always a bit for a joke and a laugh, but we didn't know what it was, and he suggested an elk, of course, an antelope, and all kind of things. We had a lot of fun. But these stalactites are stalactites on the overhead. And came and had pictures. He filmed some stuff in there, but I don't know what's being shown. But it was very difficult to get in that cave. Up some places you can stand up, and other places you crawl on your belly like a snake. But the question is to keep in mind that the antiquity of this discovery, how old this bird is. It was behind the closed doors, you might say, to leviplodes in the area. There've been 7 of them over the thousands of years, and him, Ken, and I crawled in later on, and there's been also Ken Hiddens, Bear. They call him Bear. He was with me early on to get the original pictures that they might show tonight. And Chip here's got the pheasant tail. He's just got done hunting. That's a hunting season here in Montana, and this egg he brought back to me for the chicken. The new one will hatch out someday. It's too late now, but he's out stealing eggs out of nests in the hen houses around here in the ranches. So I told him he better go hunting and get his own kind of stuff. Anyway, I'm not joking here, but in all seriousness, this bird has been really a problem for years, and no one knows what. Sharon's done so much research. I got to turn over next to her because she had done so much, and MK's done a lot too. And together, they're the show. I'm not the show. We just made the exploration, and there's more story, but it's only cut off an hour short. So if you can put Sharon on next, I think she has a whole bunch of drawings and different things to show. I'm sure she has. She's been a real gold mine in our activities over the years and keeping our stuff in her little museum.
Okay. Before we move on to Sharon, I just got one question for you. This wasn't the first bird of this sort that you found in this cave, right? You found 2 of them.
Well, the 2 of them weren't there the first time. We only saw one bird. That's the one you're going to see, the big main one. when Davis and I crawled in there, and Kay and I crawled in the cave to film the deer, the one back behind, we couldn't get into it. At that time, at the cave in, well, as recent as July 17th, Don and I almost got killed just recently in a cave in down in the Desert Mountains, and with us was Ernie Gant. Ernie Gant works in mud fossils, and we were exploring in caves that new to them, and I recognized the whole mountain was changed, and we lost 17 caves in this last episode of earthquakes in the Idaho border of Montana. And not take more time, I should take too much more time on that, but these caves are very, very dangerous to go into, and it takes a lot of courage to come in and out of them. Don Marriott here went in there with a handicap of having gout on his feet, and he had a little heart failures going on, and I was crippled with a snake bite activity. But anyway, we did go out and get it out of there, and we're going to go back and then in the spring now and see what's happened to the earthquakes. That was a 4.2, and it even shook my house in Montana. I lost one room. But getting back to our story, Sharon has so much to show. I know that's the most important part of MK. I got to get off of here. But thank you for being patient on this whole show.
Okay. One more question, and then we'll move on. What kind of creatures were they explaining that were entering and exiting these caves that you're checking out?
He said it looked like a Sasquatch to him. Well, there's more story behind that, but he lived about a mile away, and he got a bicycle, and we followed him down there in our car and then went into the cave. But we found right away, Ron found a track that we cast of a biped, and I've got it in my collection. And I lost the pictures of Ron standing by it and pointing down and a smile on his face, but it was definitely a Sasquatch possibility. Now, we don't know what these wild men are actually by identity, but we're trying to find out the real word for them. Bigfoot isn't the one I like. It's not the one. But there are big feet and big creatures. I've got one track that's 25 inches long. And Ron Moorhead has one too, also 25 and a half inches long. And other people have 19 and 22. So there's huge creatures out there besides small ones. NK and I have taken them in Bluff Creek as small as 4 inches long and 2 inches wide. And there's so much story there. I'm going to get off of that. But the show is getting shorter, and I don't know how long I have, but I need to get off of here. But kids killed us a cave, and we found it. And then we found 2 more caves in the vicinity too that connect to it. And I checked them out recently, and the town now has discovered them real well, and I made a haunted house Halloween setting in there for the people locally there now. And it's in Idaho, and it's close to the Montana border. But they don't want to have it all announced their name because they don't have too much down there going on in the town that they don't control. So I'm hesitant to tell you exactly the location, but you can visit there if you wanted to, but with less, you know what I mean? Well, I'm done unless you got questions.
All right. Well, we're going to move on. We're going to move on to Sharon, seeing how she's done a ton of research. I just wanted to show a picture of the Chickesaurus in the cave. That's not the one I was looking for. There we go. Now that's the original Chickesaurus picture. Okay, so this is what the Chickesaurus is, what they found inside the cave, everybody. And so let's move on to Sharon. We're going to move her up top, and then we are going to bring her up by herself. And she has done a ton of research on this. She's compared it to different kinds of animals, different skeletons over time. And so I'll let her talk more about it.
Well, it appears that Dawn was able to bring out the neck from this creature that was so deep in the cave. Now, got to think about how this thing that obviously stood quite tall, given its legs and given its neck, comparable to an ostrich, really. But the rib cage and the pelvis do not match. I haven't been able to find a good match for either of those. And the size of the rib cage and the way the pelvis is kind of leans almost toward some sort of dinosaur. But then when you look at this, there's little spurs here, and that's classic for something that's a bird. And so we're kind of in a place where we're not sure fish or fowl. Is this a transitional creature? And how did it get through a dark cave into that area and between the stalactites and stalagmites to sit down and basically die. There were no feet. They were removed, and the head was removed. That could have easily been something where, maybe an indigenous person took them for ceremony or saw a value in them. Or, cave rats could have just parsed those off. I don't know. But this thing looks like it literally just sat down and died. Then later on, and MK will cover this, they discovered something a little bit earlier in the cave before this end point. What they found didn't quite match this guy either. And now we've got a conundrum. We've got two creatures in this cave, and one that had to have gotten there before the stalactites and the stalagmites. So it's quite the question. The length of this neck piece is 26 inches. And the diameter of the trachea, because the trachea is still here, it's just a little over 4 inches in circumference. I've asked a good deal of museums, ornithologists, universities, what is this? And about 3/4 of them won't even respond. And I kind of understand, because you have this, chain of custody issue. When you're dealing with academia, they need to be able to have a clean chain of custody that's clear, or anything they find is not going to be peer reviewed. So how it was found and who found it, it's just not legit enough for them. So they dismiss it. A few did respond, and one of them said, maybe it's a trumpet or swan. I had to go back to him and say, this is a skeleton of a trumpet or swan. This is a skeleton of this thing. Absolutely zero match, like nothing matched. The lung capacity of this thing was more what you would see in something that walks instead of something that flies, or is meant to fly. Like an ostrich has a huge rib cage, a very deep one. This thing had a very narrow, shallow rib cage, and the pelvis was what really got me, because that's it really does look like it's between a bird and a dinosaur. So I never got any complete answers on what the heck this thing is. But it doesn't quite match an ostrich or an emu or any other thing that we know of that could be a tall bird. And then we still have the conundrum of how it got in there.
Do you think academia, because you guys aren't archaeologists and you're not in that bracket like Don, and you guys are just investigators doing your own thing, and you came across this, do you think that's part of the deal? They don't want nothing to do with this discovery?
Oh, absolutely. I can understand their standpoint in some ways. Like I said, I mean, with them not being on site and it not being monitored, and they don't know the chain of custody, they don't know where this really came from. No one, had the documentation or even the authority to, take this. This was all that they could fit out between the stalactites and stalagmites. Otherwise, they would have had to take the whole body apart to get it out of there. That's how tight that was. So we're talking a very, very long time. It was in this lava tube cave. I guess we could probably go back through history and see when some of these might have been formed seismically and see if, what age it could possibly be. But it's a mystery that no one wants to touch. And it's a shame, because a lot of times finds are made by people. There's been some new dinosaurs that some kid dug up in his backyard. We don't poo-poo that. So I don't understand fully why they wouldn't at least look at it and consider it. They don't have to publish a paper on it. They don't have to make a new discovery. They can just simply authoritatively look at this and go, I'm baffled.
Well, let's bring up a couple of pictures of things that you tried to compare it to as you're doing your research. We'll start with this guy here.
Yeah.
Now, what is this?
That's a dinosaur. I'm not sure. I don't recall the name of that one, but I was trying to look at dinosaurs that occurred in that area that might have been transitional when we were going from that, what scientists believe that, they came from birds, that birds came from dinosaurs. And so I was looking at anything transitional in the whole Yellowstone area, basically. And this was one of the candidates. Some things are right, but the rib cage is very, very deep on this fellow.
The neck looks, the trachea and everything you just showed has the same bone structure and features as
The spurs, yeah.
those spurs.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's show this guy. Whoops.
Okay, and that one I do believe is an ostrich. And the bones are all wrong. The leg bones are the what would be our femur is way too short, and then the arms where the wings would be are way too long. This thing had very tiny wings or arms, whichever they were. So that wasn't jiving either. You can look at the neck and see it just doesn't work.
Okay. Now we'll go. This is the swan, right?
Trumpeter swan that the one was saying it was, and pelvis doesn't match, the rib cage doesn't match, the neck doesn't match.
Yeah, nothing matches. So you can ixnay that.
Yeah. And then this is another dino, Now this one I like because some of the leg bones look very similar. The neck is much stronger and thicker on this guy, and the rib cage is very deep on him too. This thing, if it stood up, you can tell it would be about a typical ostrich height, probably, maybe 6-7 feet tall.
Well, I think it's, that neck, this is that looks like the same neck to me. The same spurs on the neck for some reason.
Yeah, definitely.
But was there toes? Could you guys tell me toes that were on the bird?
The Chickesaurus was missing its head and its feet, which makes me think that somebody might have wanted those as a trinket. I mean, think about it. You got little talons or claws and the head. I'm sure the skull was probably quite interesting. So those were either picked over or, like I said, it could have been just an easy target for rats in the cave.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much on the explanation of the trachea and the neck and all the other animals that you compared to them. And you've got some great pictures too. You've measured everything. This isn't a small bird. 5 inches around and a bunch of other bones lying around. So let's hop over to MK real quick. And MK, your first impressions when you came across the Chickensaurus. Now again, is there two or one? I'm getting a little confused.
Well, it almost has to be two, because she said that in the first one, there were no feet. Well, in the second one, there were feet. So it almost has to be two different ones. That being the case, it's not likely that is somebody's escaped ostrich, and then two of them went up there. It's the whole thing is a conundrum. Anyway, you gotta. I looked into the what was that in there around there in the Ice Age, and they actually mentioned that there were ostrich-like birds in the Ice Age around there. The last lava flow was 15,000 years ago in that area. So it can be at least 15,000 years old.
They showed a lot of things you shouldn't miss. Now you go back on it,
Yeah. I'm going to play a video where Don and Chad are sitting there with it and pointing at different things on it, if I may.
Yeah, that's where we're going to head. I just wanted to get your take on what you saw, what you came into play, and what your thoughts were. So yeah, we can.
Another odd thing about it is that it did not have any feathers with it, and feathers last a long time in a cave environment. There was not a sign of any feathers in there with it, and certainly an ostrich has some. I have an ostrich feather right here, and that thing's probably 4 feet tall. I got it hanging up. There should have been some remnants of feathers, but none. There's none. So that brings to that it makes the mind ask a lot of questions there. Did it ever have feathers? maybe perhaps not.
Or could have got caught in a lava flow. They could have just smoked right out too. Who knows? But
All right, are y'all ready for this video?
Yep, we're gonna play a video now. Here we go.
All right, this is called discussing the Chickesaurus carcass. Here we go.
I could go get a piece of that blue tarp and just have it as a travois to carry it as a sling.
But I'm suggesting that I got the cord, just tie the leg to the ribs and so on, so she won't roll flip around. How lucky can we get to find this close to the front?
He brought it this
I showed him that pictures and proved that's
I
not.
don't think the picture of the rocks looks the same as the picture that you took before.
It does.
No, this isn't the same carcass.
I've got the neck.
He's got the neck of the
I've
other
got a
one.
neck that long.
Okay.
I've
We
got
found two of
a neck up.
Now, while we're here, before we go on further back, can you move it around and see if what's under it?
I'll get it over. Take my thing off. You guys got the camera, so you guys can film it.
We're filming.
That's close.
I like the 3D feature of that thing. That's kind of cool.
The knife.
It computes that 3D itself.
You got to put it in the computer.
Big stuff, yeah.
What's that under there? Something under that rock is glass or something.
Yeah, there's
Broken bottle.
yeah, broken bottle.
I tell you something though.
There's no
It
head.
tells you that was brought over the bottle.
It tells you that it was moved after the bottle was here before.
That's right. The bottle was there first.
All right. Well, can you find a head? Is there the missing head? Is it?
Filthy, awful.
Is the tail there?
Hang on, Don, gentle. You got to move it all at once. Because no, the head is not there.
No. The other leg is on the other side.
Yeah, it's got the complete intact other leg, fully,
Everything's there, but
Are you filming this at all?
fully articulated.
I am. I'm
I
filming
don't know
that.
what because
We're facing off.
No, there's not a head on it.
it's got both teeth though. It's got the same feet on this one as that one. You like that down here, MK?
Yeah.
The other toes right down
Don't break it. If you got a specimen, don't break it.
there. I'll show myself that in the shower.
Good.
That neck I had. One that little different than that, but something like it. Let's see right there. That trachea.
Here you go, Ted. Look.
That should
Take a look and you see the other one. Here's a photo of it. The ribs look different. The ribs on this one are smaller.
Yeah, I believe that let's see.
what do you believe?
I believe that it could be the other way, the other side, but I'm not sure of that. It could be a different skeleton. I'm not.
Well, that one doesn't have any feet on it. The feet's gone on it. You can see.
Oh, you're correct. The other one doesn't have.
And the feet in my head.
It had two necks.
Second one found.
Oh, okay.
Don broke this neck off and took it with it.
Neck is my house.
He was
Okay.
almost considerable.
All right. Got it.
But he blocked it in now to get to
But it's got a different rib cage. The rib cage is bigger boned and it doesn't have those long snaky ribs.
Like that. Uh-huh. But the other side, see the ribs on the far side
Yeah.
aren't necessarily snaky. These could have got broke.
Yeah, I guess it could have.
You know, if it fell. Or,
I don't know bird anatomy too good, but I know that has to be an ostrich because the only thing that has two toes.
How tall they get?
Oh, 7 or 8
that's-
feet tall.
That's the right size for it.
Well, once again,
See, if you just take
if you filmed the surrounding territory right here. How do you walk in this place as tall as he is?
Yeah, it could be.
He was drugging it with something.
Oh, yeah.
You're dead or something.
All right, take a look at the length of the leg, starting from the hip down to here, and continuing on down to the middle of the foot is 5 feet.
5 feet.
5 feet from the hip joint up here, following the zigzag
The entire leg.
down to the middle of the foot, comes out just shy of 5 feet.
So it could be 5 feet from just the leg length alone.
Right, and so if you allow some bend in it,
And
you know,
then
it could be 4 foot at the hip standing up fully,
it's probably going to be about 7 feet to the head.
and then you got more
Erect.
for the head.
Big outfit.
For an ostrich.
But there again, there's a question for you.
Well, that's it.
And both heads are gone. Is that normal in finding something that's been abandoned by animals?
But there's been a lot of people back here.
No.
Yeah, this is in the area where people will go. We've kind of gotten down
They
into it.
got this far. Someone's found it before and drug it down
Let's drag it this far,
from someplace.
because it did not
That broken beer
disintegrate.
bottle over there.
It did not disintegrate on top of that beer bottle.
That's right. So it was pulled down, I'd say from that direction. It would be pulled uphill, I would think, out of here, in here. Don't know. But,
Well, let's go back to the other one and check it out.
yeah.
We haven't fully investigated until we do that.
I got a recorder here. I'm going to record something on it. Just right where I put it at. I got here. Turn it on. Hit that button. Okay, this is May 21st, 2014. I'm in the cave we call the Chickesaurus cave originally. We just with Tad Mooney, Dr. Tad Mooney from Billings, Montana, and MK Davis from Mississippi, myself. And we just found what we think is we know from the descriptions as far as we know, it's an ostrich in the size of about, what was the length think they do? 4 feet?
Well, let's measure it.
It's about 4 feet long. This is just guesstimations. And the legs, put it about 5 feet on the legs, we assume. That's Dr. Mooney is right now measuring the carcass to see what we think it would be. The bird is
It's a little over 3 feet, 37 inches more or less.
the
From
body carcass to the tail area is 37 inches.
the height
Approximately the height is
would be about 29, 30 inches.
30 inches in a fetal position, anatomy look. And it has a neck bone in it, full neck bone, but no head. That's the only part missing. The toes are visible in twos, which MK says is definitely an ostrich indication. Now, this is what's exciting to this. It's exciting in itself, but what's more exciting is that it's not the same creature we came in to find. But it's in a situation where we stand up tall enough, it'd be almost impossible to explain how it walked in here on its own.
Also, all feathers are missing. All
Also,
feathers.
the feathers are all missing. And feathers are very durable for,
They are. A feather stay in a cave for 2,000 years.
yeah. And so, like he says, a cave, we found feathers in other caves that were very, very old, where other things had disappeared from the area. And we are,
It's been plucked.
it's been plucked or skinned, because there's the skin that's probably eaten, who knows. But what's interesting also, the trachea, which is the windpipe, is in the total in the bird. And this is the first thing, as I understand, that cats and predators will generally tear out of a creature when they kill one.
Another unusual thing that I see about it is that the rats have not eaten the bone, and the rats love calcium.
Good point. And the MK says, and he's right, that the rats in this cave are very plentiful, multiple numbers of them, and they haven't apparently eaten these bones, which is very unusual, because most bones in the forest, you always find the chipmunks, squirrels, and rats eat those almost in weeks. A good point. Very good point. So what is the reason these creatures, in this case one here and one we expect to find yet, were not consumed by something with that kind of need for calcium.
I'm gonna tell you, if something brought this thing in alive, it took a lot of force. If it brought it in dead, it still took a lot of
In
force.
case you're not recording we that far away, in case by the point if something brought in here, it did with lots of effort and force to get it in. I think the highest point in this cave, in this room at least, is not more than 48 inches, I'm sure. Well, maybe a little more.
Yeah, you could stand up.
But the bird couldn't stand up in here.
No, and it had to go through
And
real
there's a lot
constant.
of debris ahead of it, rocks and boulders and crevices in here. And it tells me that somebody brought this in or something brought it in here. It was not easy to do. But that piece would be probably 800 pounds.
If it was alive or if it was free.
Well, so something has to carry 200 pounds in here, which
Dangerous creature.
to do that, or a large biped.
Well, see, its leg is dislodged. If you look at the leg joint, it looks to me from here that it's out of place.
Under two was the ostrich, I think it is.
Bone.
So
So-
points out that the legs
Just one of
are
the pictures.
doing
Injured it.
something.
Yeah.
That may be good, but if I did, that may probably found it. But
See, the tendon right here is disconnected.
It's broken.
Like,
tendon's broken, it's hamstrung.
something could have hamstrung it. Like if it was being attacked, this bone here is broken. Part of the pelvic
And
bone.
it's a tradition in the southern part of South America that the gauchos and the vaqueros often hamstrung the creatures they chase down there.
The bottom line is that it's not an easy thing to kill and eat an ostrich.
Yeah, it's
They're very fast and they're very alert.
and we're in Idaho now, and we're in Idaho, the southern Idaho, in the mountains and deserts, and it's not feasible that this creature is here on his total on his own. I mean, he had to have some kind of some help to get here. That's all it is to it.
It's an amazing thing.
Turn this off for now, yes.
We'll cut mine off.
All right. So, like you guys were just saying, are there ostrich farms in Idaho? Could one of these escape and be dragged down into the cave system?
Good.
Something that surprises me about watching that video too, and I guess it hadn't occurred to me earlier about the original Chickesaurus that was further in the cave. Neither of those had been picked apart. If something brought it in there and managed to get this huge creature all the way back there to devour it, it didn't scatter the bones. It didn't show any evidence it had been eaten at all. So who knows?
Did it? You know, you usually hear a Sasquatch, a kill from a Sasquatch on a deer. They're jumping probably out of a tree, snapping their front legs, snapping their necks at the same time from the weight. Did this bird have any indications of that happening to it? I said you guys were pointing out that there was some ligament damage and stuff around the legs. Was anything busted?
Well, there was a place in the bone where it was broken, or I guess that's the back feed. What is that?
It's our clock.
Oh.
We're the culprits.
Okay. I said that it was an ostrich, but that's what I said while I was there. I have to be a little more reserved about that than I was then. It's the answer. We got to get some answers as to number one, why there was two of them in there, and also how old they are. Because if they go back to the ice age, that opens up a whole another can of worms. You know, with what it could be. Sharon's brought up enough stuff to make me really second guess the ostrich thing.
I guess the next thing to consider too is how long it takes to create a stalactite or stalagmite in a lava tube cave like that. Because if this thing had been there and these formed around, after it had passed, that could give us a date.
All right. So, What's the biggest difference between the two birds that you guys can notice?
One had its feet, and the other one didn't. I didn't ever get to go back in that behind those stalactites. But we actually started to bring that thing out, and I regret to this day not bringing it out. It's just everything is kind of spur of the moment when you're in an environment like that. Because I mean, it's almost like being in a womb. It's everything is right around you, and you're way back in there. I mean, the entrance, the escape route is way off, and you got this back of your mind. If something happens, you're going to end up being memorialized down there. I just wish that we had. We were able to pick it up and move it around. I think we could have gotten out of there with it. We had to do a belly crawl probably a couple of places. But Don, how do you feel about that?
Well, I think I want to make a comment here that caving is very dangerous, and not to encourage people to go in caves not knowing what you're doing, because I'm not a spelunker, but what I do is investigate lots of caves for possibility of wild people. And I call them people because to me they are Sasquatch, are people. They're not as gigantopithecus in any sense of the word. So anyway, I think that big bird that we call it Chickesaurus has a glass effect to it. My voice is bad from the fire I got into. Anyway, the Chickesaurus, the name Chickesaurus comes from Brontosaurus. I put that on it just as a joke, kind of like, but it's a chick. So that's what, chicken of some kind. Sharon brought up some good photographs there that you can compare to. I've been in Australia on this thing too once, and I showed what I had that my ostrich down there. And mates, and they never saw nothing like it, but there are birds in the museum similar to that date back to 13,000 years. And if you went to Australia, you see what I'm talking about. But I definitely think this one, and that when they're isolated from each other, but there's two stories there, and there could have been ostrich farms. I can't find record of them, but if there are, they were out of memory from people alive today. But one in the back had a glass effect to it, like hard glass baked by the lava flows of 7 lava flows across Idaho. Like today, notice that the layers of lava basalt that covers the state and parts of Montana and other parts of Oregon at different places. But this time frame is such a long history that it's hard to identify what creatures could have been left behind. And I've got more stories, but I won't put them on here. And we're still finding things that aren't being checked. It's the modern time, been there and done that. Well, it hasn't happened at all. That's the worst thing you can ever say about yourself or somebody else, because you've been there and done that. People don't matter to me. I don't matter to them. But I think that this is a scientific expedition in this way. I look for more than just Sasquatch. I'm more explorer than a Bigfooter, but I've seen them too. Anyway, the MK has done marvelous films on his blog. I never get a chance to see any, but I have no computers. But there's things in this world. What do you say, Chip? Chip says you got to have to be crazy to want to look at this kind of stuff. And he said this egg might hatch. I don't know. I think
let me play another video that we see a bunch of broken bones in there in the cave that were not belonging to the Chickesaurus. Let me play that. Can I do that?
Yeah, you're all set. Just go right ahead.
Don, what do you think is the biggest danger of us going to this cave that we face?
Well, the filth in the cave is the worst thing. There's rats in there, and there's who knows what kind of vermin.
Is reasonably safe. Signal based lava tube, of course, and
No.
Okay, look at that bone real carefully right there, because it's been smashed and the marrow removed. This right here up at the top is probably what they smashed it with. If you see, it's inside of a little pit. So they were beating down on this bone and creating a crater. So let's take a look at it again. Run it some more.
Now, every one of these bones have been in these little pits. Kick the dust off that one and see if that's a bone. Rock.
That's your smasher there. See that bone?
There's lots of them down here.
This could be a burial cave too, you say.
Well, there's tracks too. People been in here.
I know that, but the local people, kids, I don't know.
There's a piece of bamboo of some kind, red bamboo.
Now, what's bamboo doing in there? Yeah. My point is that it's not normal for people at this day and time to go inside of a cave, go back that deep into a cave, and smash animal bones with a big smashing rock. That in it of itself makes that cave of particular interest. And then to add to that, the Chickesaurus carcasses.
So do you think the Sasquatch are feeding on these carcasses? Do you think that's why they were down in these pits? Is that, that
they were feeding on those bones there? I feel pretty sure that there's no marrow in them. They smashed them open. That's a typical way it's done. All your primates.
Excuse me. I might add here, MK, that I found over a 50-mile radius, area, these caves. I find tracks that match the caves tracks in other caves, and hunter-gatherer people. I got over 23 casts that indicate there's 23. There were separate people out there. I call them people, horse people, but. The marrows is extracted by your thumb after you get down in the middle of it, or some kind of a tool. And animals don't do this ordinarily. They eat the marrow from the crack in it and then go and bite it up into pieces. So I find marrow bones in MK. I found them before in Nevada and also in other places. This show's too short to talk about this stuff, but definitely there's evidence in my explorations, and I've been doing it for 60 years, that there's a lot of wild people out in this world that we have no idea what they are. And I guarantee you
that's the point. It had to be somebody with a lot of skill, and it had to be somebody with a particular wild side, because people quit doing that back since the Ice Age. I mean, since there was any measure of civilization. So that just to beat a raw bone until you can get the marrow out of it. That don't sound like anybody that lives in Idaho right now.
Right.
And in the city, that is.
There's many reports that the Sasquatch break legs. They leave them as gifts. They take heads, skulls, deer heads, skulls. I've had deer skulls left at my area before. These are things they collect and are reported and leave for other people all over the place. So were these souvenirs after they took them and down here and did what they had to do with them? And Don's got some amazing pictures of elk legs left by goats and stuff like that, and I'm just my head's spinning with that. Just souvenirs and gifts for other people, or not the heads being there, or it could have been ritual activities too. They could have been down there summoning who knows what and using the body parts for that. But how many ostrich? What's the population of ostrich in Iowa?
Iowa? I don't
You mean
know.
Idaho?
I don't think there's hardly any.
Yeah, so that's just strange in itself. Sharon, what do you think?
Species like yesteryear and long ago could be some kind of a prehistoric birds. Now, the Sharon shows those beautiful examples that shows the difference in ostriches and what they could be dinosauric reference to it. And that's this stalactite thing I explained in the early part of the show. It was almost impossible to get through it unless you swim through those bones from the, not bones, those formations from the drip off of the lava.
Yeah. I guess I'm kind of like thinking of this forensically. Okay, let's say this is a comparable to an ostrich. First of all, you have to kill it to get it all the way back there in that cave. There's no way you're going to take a live creature with those kind of legs, that kind of strength, and you're going to drag it in there. So how do you kill one? You know, I guess you could bleed it out or something, and then once it's dead, drag it all the way back there. But then when you drag it back there, why would you set it down in a seated bird position? The legs were tucked under, it's sitting upright, just as if it went back there, it was sickly and it died. But we all know there's no way that this huge, tall thing that does not have night vision is going to go all the way back in this cave and in very narrow areas and sit down and die. That's just not going to happen.
Right, that's an important fact you just brought up, that these caves are pitch black. There's no lights down there. It's dark.
They don't have a floodlight, or
Right.
they're not going in there with a pack of matches. So the scenario is very odd, but it gets even odder when you think that at some point something or someone took the head and the feet off the first Chickesaurus and the head off the other Chickesaurus. Now that sounds like a trophy in a way. Why would you drag a dead body back there, set it up as if it's alive, take its head, and then leave? Because it's pretty obvious, especially by the first one, nothing picked it over and ate it. All the bones were in the perfect seated position. It just didn't show evidence that it was there as a feast. So what's going on? I don't know, but it is baffling.
Well, we have an out now about getting some DNA testing. I don't know if Don told you, but we are going to have the hand of unknown origin tested for DNA. And we're having some of Ernie Gant's mud fossils tested for DNA. So how about the Chickesaurus? Why not, right?
Well, I suggest if you realize that the hand of unknown origin is being looked at now by scientists, and it's the first time in 20 years we got that far. And now I turned in a body cast and went over with Ernie Gant, who does mud fossils discoveries, and he's got a blog. But it's a possibility we need some help to get some of the money to do this with. I got $100 a day from one guy. We got $600 from going to get Chris's part going on, get the donations for the extraction of DNA from the university, and also we need to get $800 for MK, who lost his this week. I guess his machinery went down in his how it works in his research. And I'm looking for people. I'm not asking for money, but if people want to help us out, we're on the right track. Some new discoveries that people would never believe possible, because science is quite now getting to things we couldn't do before.
All right. So everybody, what Don is getting at, MK's hard drive crashed on his computer with, well, I can even imagine how much evidence and film and everything on these hard drives, and it costs a lot of money to get this done. So if anybody wants to help out and wants to help MK get this hard drive back up, we're going to set up a link in the description tomorrow, and you'll be able to, donate $1, $5, whatever you can to help him out, because he has lost some valuable information, and I'd like to help him try and get that back. So if anybody can find it in their heart to, throw a couple bucks at us, they'll be well worth it.
Epic is a word, but MK is an icon of his research. Sharon Day as well. These people were out there doing things that no one ever considered even think about doing it. I work on a shoestring. I never got $1 in my life from any kind of payment. I'm a freelance adventurer, but I enjoy the truth, and that's what I'm after. We're after the truth, all of us are. What he's suggesting, $1 or $2 would help up a lot. I'm not a guy after money ordinarily, I never have. But I go to museums quite a bit and work with them, but I just look for the truth. And the recent death of Joe Taylor in Texas has been a real loss, and other people too. Now, one more thing I want to say here. I don't know the detail of what's happened to to Jeff Meldrum recently this last few days, but he's in very dire condition. And those who care about scientists, we hope he's good.
Yep.
There's differences of opinion on all sides of the coin, but I mean, these guys are out there making an effort.
Yeah, prayers, definitely.
Nowadays, it's really hard to find real people anymore, and they're out there doing this kind of work.
Right. So I want to go over a couple more pictures we got. Then I'm gonna open up the questions, for people to ask a few questions about what they're thinking. I'd like to go to the ice formations and everything inside this cave. How cold? First, let's get it out of the way. How cold was it down deep in this cave?
That cave never had the temperature varying from 45 degrees, hot as it gets. I've been there for going on 20 years in that cave off and on. We was there on 17th of July this year with Don Marriott and I and Ernie Gant went in the same cave, but it's been destroyed by earthquakes quite a bit. But the cave has ice year round, and it even has cattails stored in it at times. It's plucked off a lake not too far away, 4 or 5, 6 miles from there. And that's another story. These creatures live on all kind of food that people don't realize. You can find how they live. You can find them. They're easy. But you can't find them. You can't find how they live. You're never going to find them. And I found much, and I'll go back to detail here, but we're looking at the truth and also movements of the creatures. And to answer your question, there's evidence that these creatures being so intelligent, they're beyond description. Then I could go in 1,000 years on this, but won't do it. But we're just beginning to learn what we don't know. I don't care how much these people tell you anything. I do know I've been there and done that. They haven't been anywhere. And neither have I, really, because we're just taking a look. And to get back to these guys need help on this computer things, I got a flip phone. I thought I had like no email or no. I didn't want the kind of thing. I can't take time for it. But I lost a fight in my fire this year on New Year's Day. I lost 400 pounds, about estimated manuscript I'd written and notes and pictures and things that were really important in science. And now MK's lost his material, and I don't know what all is going down, but we're losing a lot of stuff because of what's happening in the world that's strange about fires and all kind of things. And also, while you're on this topic, consider what Hawaii's going through over there in Maui, and I had my second home anyway, so I know it's terrible. The world's really going apart, and we need to get back in reality again. And I said enough, but I'm really vouching for. I'm going to try and raise some money and help these guys out.
Well, there's still discoveries to be had, and I applaud you and Don and Ernie. You guys went into a cave. You guys were going to go into a cave, and an earthquake hit, and it demolished. It collapsed. You guys could have been inside that cave. It was.
We were 8 minutes away from death. Don Marriott and I and Ernie again this on the 17th of July. Well, that's not I'm not bragging about that, but caving is very dangerous. I wouldn't want to suggest you have your children go in caves without knowing what's in there. There's gas and there's snakes and all kind of things that I won't go. Here's the ice formations. There's more story here than you're going to see, but this is fantastic. This is a cave we crawled in the other day, too, on 17th of July this year, and there's still ice in there.
Yeah, these are beautiful. The one on the bottom right, everybody's got a little bug on it.
I guess it's an ice bug.
He's stuck. But these are
later on another show of the ice formations today that show different things in them you wouldn't believe.
Those are beautiful, beautiful pictures. I mean, I think that's about all. I put them in a collage so everybody could get to see. And then here's some collage of the bones that were also found inside the cave.
These caves are mysterious, and some caves are unknown entirely to science. And it takes a little bit of hair on your chest to crawl those damn places, either gender.
If you would like, I have all the ice pictures. I can just put them on a rotation here and just show them. Look at that. That's my favorite one right there. That Don is right there. He's checking that thing out.
Yeah. So if you want to share a couple, and then I want to get a couple final thoughts, and then we'll open up the questions for the chat room.
All right, I'll just buzz through here. Hold on. Now let me get through to this is from my original list, so they haven't been picked. I haven't picked out the best ones, but I will. I love this picture right here. I call it a spherule, an ice spherule, and I don't know how they form. This was in June. That's some form of life that's living in the cave. I don't know what it is.
Well,
Did you guys ever find any evidence of Sasquatch in there? Prints, anything while you guys were in this cave?
Oh yeah. It's what I would say, not necessarily prints, but the smashing of that bone. To me, I took that very seriously.
Right. Yeah. There's nothing else that would really take the time.
Okay. Here's the good stuff. Here we go.
There's actually ghosts right there.
Look at that.
Right there. You don't even know it.
Now look, it looks like the schematic for a city. The streets and the boulevards.
This is great.
It's on that ice. See, there's perfect rectangles.
Yeah. That's pretty neat.
That's pretty strange.
These are real rare. I better ones.
There's no bubbles in this ice. It is completely a crystal. And it takes that light off that flashlight and it just beams up through there like fiber optics. Look at that one.
This cave is so strange that you can never believe the stories I could tell you. It's not here, but I've been there many times. And the ice in there is formed like blue ice in Alaska. It's so large you can't.
Bioluminescence. That's glowing. If it may be reflecting, I don't know, but it's some kind of life form.
The upper chambers aren't shown at all, but upstairs there's another layer to this cave. There's a great big hole in the overhead, and you can go up there and find bones of all kinds. I never have got a chance to totally explore it. We think there's a lot of evidence of action animals there.
Look at that. Looks like the night sky.
That's water drops coming down, forming stalactites.
I'm not sure what it is.
It's water.
They almost look like mushrooms sprouting up through the substrate.
This is solid ice right here, Don's on. It's a lake.
The ice is so hard it could not be broken with a crowbar. We tried with digging bars, 15 pounds heavy. My daughter Holly almost broke her back trying to get the ice broken. We spent hours and couldn't crack it. And below that ice was bones at one time, and now they're gone. And that's another story, but it's really weird. This cave is, I won't tell where it's at because I don't want someone to get hurt. It's my daughter found it, Dolly, the daughter Holly Mistletoe. And that's her middle name. And she found this cave.
That's it.
She now lives in Texas. And we're going there too again.
So, well, let's just go before we get questions. I'd like to go one by one and get you guys what you each think that the Chickesaurus is. And we'll start with Sharon, seeing how she's logged in the most hours on the research and all that. So
I think the most telling thing is just the stalactites and stalagmites. Obviously, this thing in its original structure would never have been able to get past that obstacle course. So that's giving us a date, a time period, and, maybe the latter Pleistocene. And there were a lot of, odd things in America that we're still finding things that were here during the Ice Age that we didn't realize had existed. So it just could be some sort of unknown creature.
okay. MK?
Well, I have to agree with that. You know, that's the way I see it. Also, it's just you cannot answer in any kind of typical way or rational way for those two carcasses to be that far back up in that cave where they were. It's not explainable as being a modern bird. It almost certainly has to have been something from long ago, perhaps the Pleistocene, like that.
Okay. And Don, how about you? What's your
Well, it's too bad I've done a picture of the stalactites and stalagmites that locked that bird in the position where it's at, because the meat wasn't removed. The meat is still hard as a rock. It's putrefied. I call it that. Petrified isn't the word for it, but it's almost hard as a rock. There's scratches and bite marks all over it and attempts to get into the meat over the centuries. And I say centuries because it's locked in a cage situation where it's undeterminable how many years it took to lock it in there on those ice formations. There's nothing at all to do with that, but with the water coming down, and it's definitely an unknown bird to me. I don't know. No one's been proven it's not. Sharon's done so much work on the things she showed you earlier that it's obvious that it matches some of those things more than what they have in modern comparables. And I'm not a paleontologist, I'm not a bones expert, but I've seen a lot of bones. We got bones in some caves that I won't go into all that. I think they're amazing. I sent one bone from that same cave to Dr. Orr. He's now dead over in primatology in Oregon years ago, and it was 13,000 years old. My voice is bad from the fire. I have a hard time talking. But anyway, I think the bird is definitely unknown and it's still up for grabs, and I'm prepared to accept whatever they find out about it.
all right? Okay. Well, my impression is it's not supposed to be down in those caves. It didn't walk in. It didn't fly in. Didn't get in there on its own, because I've never seen it. Even if it was an ostrich, you ever see an ostrich belly crawl before and push itself in and get into a cave and make its way like a duck? I have to agree with all of you. I think it's something of unknown origin, and we need to find out what it is before we miss the opportunity. We got the opportunity now, so we should hopefully take advantage of it.
Well, I'd like to say this while I got a chance to, that in all my travels, and I would have never gone into a cave like that if I had not been with Don. And I consider it a privilege and an honor to have accompanied him to not only this cave, but to 100 other places of mystery. And it has created for me, a purpose, and I really appreciate it.
Well, that was awesome. That was awesome. Don's one of a kind, I'll tell you that. That's for sure. We got to stop him getting a little worried about him talking to Chip all the time. It's starting to get a little strange, and dressing him up. And
well, Chip says we have to be kind of halfway crazy if we ain't part of this stuff. He says, it told me yesterday in a conversation private between us. Kalijah had a wooden head. Never got a kiss. Well, this guy's the same way.
Yep.
I think MK just mentioned of 100 other places. We've been 1,000 places together across the western states and Bluff Creek and all these things so many times. We can't tell our story because there's never time to tell it. But we got a lot of offshoots and attitudes. And believe it or not, we're not done yet. I'm getting closer to when I can't crawl anymore. I crawl through caves, but I still jog through them a little bit. But we got things here in Idaho, Montana border, down in Arizona, all around here. Haven't even been touched because of farm fences. They fenced the whole west off. That started to kill the buffalo off. That's the worst part of it. But they fenced the whole lands, and there's hundreds of thousands of square miles out here that people haven't got into yet. It's still wild. And Sharon knows that too over her area in Arizona. Snowbirds or not, there's places you can't go over there. I've been a part of them. And I'm not saying I snuck in, but that'd be the way to do it. But sometimes got to go where you got to go to get the evidence you get. And MK done with me some things were amazing, and we're still onto it, and we're not done. And now Don Marriott comes on the scene, and he's new to it, but he's adapted to it. And we work with museums all around the country, and they're all baffled by what we bring in. I say we, because I'm not the only one doing this. There's very few, but each person's unique in their own world, and believe it or not, we're important to that way, because to the real discovery of the truth. That's all we're after, the truth of what's going on. The gigantic this is not the thing that the Sasquatch is. I guarantee it's not. I won't go into why. I know the ideas, they're pretty well founded, but they're not proven yet. So let's just say, I hope Jeff Melvin gets better.
Yeah, yeah, we all do. Prayers for his family and everything. And well, we got something planned for the spring too. We're not going to talk about too much. We're going to a secret spot that's never been visited before, and I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to hanging out with all you guys, and I'm excited for that. So, got the first question here. Ombre says, if dragged in due to inside cave conditions and small space, why arrange it like it's setting? Why would you take the time to, set it up like it was,
I'll take a wild stab at that. I've thought about this for some time. It could be that at the point in which this cave was formed, there was another opening, and these creatures did come in through that opening. Maybe they even lived in the cave. Protective place to be. And it could be that over time and all the seismic activity in that area, that part of the cave just isn't accessible anymore. So they could have just been living in there or retreated in there, and then we had this situation with just one little earthquake, and boom, their way out is gone.
Yeah, very well could be. We got the Squatch Father says, Chris, I'll get the ball rolling. I'm in for $20 for MK. All right. Thank you, Al. That's awesome. Okay. Blue-eyed Northern. I'm so sorry that the show got started off like it did, everybody, but I think we've recouped. Don Marriott, what do you think is going on in that cave?
Well, I wasn't part of the expedition, but there's, of course, like a lot of the guys watching the program, I've got multiple questions. For example, the meat wasn't eaten, and if this was a flightless bird, then I'm going to assume that the skin was still there, and if it did have feathers, then you would have the evidence of where the feathers would go, if indeed it even had the feathers. And the other thing with him setting up, Sharon mentioned there could have been another entrance. So also, it actually could have been deeper than over the years. With cave-ins, it would fill up a little bit and narrow it. But a thought that I had, because he was in a setting position, and there were broken bones that MK pointed out, what if the bird was wounded? They drug it in wounded, and while it was wounded in the cave, they're going to eat it later. Then it went into a setting position and died. And for whatever reason, they never went back to finish it off. And then the other thing is I have dogs. Obviously, you heard them, but all of our dogs we've done the DNA testing on them to see what breed they are, and this bird would be easy enough, I would think, to check out to see what it actually is based off of DNA testing.
I agree. Any way you look at it, that bird's not supposed to be down in that cave. All right, Mr. Flat Rock asks, since there were human tracks, if it was a Sasquatch, were there barefoot tracks in this cave?
You're asking me that, of course. We found also handprints out of plaster. He had enough for one cast. Ron Roseman cast that one for me. And that was on an angle where it slipped down a little bit on an angle, and it had to be put a hair comb on the bottom to catch the first plaster, and an hour to make it, because you got to build them later. So definitely a barefoot. And I've done a lot of casting. I've cast over 300 casts in my life. I've never counted them. I just estimate that. And that was definitely has all the features of a barefoot. And it was not the heel width is more important than any part of the cast. To me, as I can tell you why. No human being on Earth, I've never measured them on beaches of the world, when they walk along with what weight ratio are, never exceeds 2 inches. And it's inside of that. Because that was 1 3/4 or 2 inches is a max for even a heavy duty person. Even one in the islands is small. Big people, it's still 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 at the most, 2 inches is the max. And I found this fit that category. And also, to answer your question, we found handprints. I got numerous handprint casts, and they're all different and distorted. You can tell different not genders necessarily, but different individuals. I've got 23 casts in one cave. I call it's called the Sasquatch cavern. I call it. It's very secret to me because it's really something else. And that cave has got these casts, and they're not be shown here yet tonight. We got to put them on another show and show you lots and lots of them, and pictures of them. But the ice formation cave that we come out of had casts that were 35 and 40 miles away. The same people been in that cave on those displaced, the bones we found in there. And you didn't see nothing at all, just the tip of the iceberg. But the same ice formations that MK showed there, I have taken them again after he left a couple of months or later. I picked the exact date, wrote it down in the journal, burned up in the fire. But anyway, I found in there some very mysterious things that might display in sometimes for you if you blow your mind. But the caves are strange, and there's worldwide all your major discoveries of every kind of thing imaginable. Humanity, of all things, comes out of caves of some place. More than on a forest area, they find them too. But you find tracks in forests, but you find in caves. Life goes on and live there year round. Everywhere in the world, this is the case. And the people who say they don't go in caves are out of their mind. When a cold weather comes and rains, what would you go? And I got to say, the guys who've explored with me, both genders, and over the years, I admire them all for their courage. And MK has accomplished things that you would not even believe on what he can't tell you about his game cameras and things. I don't watch the blogs at all. I have no way of doing it. I haven't got a computer. But in a way, it's a bad thing and a good thing. But I don't want to get bothered by people who's what's going on, Don. Well, hell, I've got time to tell you. But we haven't even touched the surface of what's possible with DNA if it's allowed to be taken from the creatures. There's answers I couldn't even answer any part of them, but I got theories, and some of them I can tell you more about. Some more book references from ancient texts and Tibet and Bhutan and Arabia. Everywhere there's stuff that verifies there's giants on the earth, and there's the mud fossil people. They're really amazing. I'm beginning to take a look at that pretty hard. Ernie Gant got a goat log. It's just the partners, and they're just now getting a little bit of reference to get some things done. And I hope it goes on beyond that, because Ernie came with me exploring, and that's curiosity more or less. And I go to him once in a while to see his mud fossils. And I tell you what, folks, and MK and other people can mention, there's dozens of them out there that are trying hard, and there are different opinions, but the truth of the fact is the DNA and the absolute discovery of similarity that verifies that they're not a Gigantopithecus and large. If they're still alive, they can toss them rocks at cars. They aren't even intelligent enough to even blow their own nose, you might say. So we don't have that kind of thing. I'm not putting Jeff Meldon down. He's got a right to believe what he wants to, but it's not convincing me. And a lot of people out there are overlooked, and they're really out there doing a lot, and they're on their own terms. I said too much, but that's pretty close.
All right, we're going to take a couple more questions, and then I'm going to let you get on with your night. Here we go. Miss Diane Fowler asks, do you think that something was collecting the things and put in with the bottle, hence no feathers? It's collecting the feathers, I guess she's asking.
I don't know why they could collect feathers. I mean, feathers go almost indestructible unless they burn or they get wet and they get plucked off a bird and they still float in the cave after they're gone. I can tell you, I won't go into all that detail, but I've seen a lot of things, and even birds living in caves, and the feathers are there for years after they've Get their feathers and they're still there. The birds are alive with new feathers on board. Yeah, feathers are almost immortal unless they get certain conditions.
You can go in Lovelock Cave and you can find duck feathers that are 2,000 years old. They're still in the dirt down in Lovelock Cave.
If somebody wanted to collect these feathers, if they had feathers, it doesn't make much sense to me. If I wanted to collect the feathers off a creature, I don't think I'd drag it into a cave for hours and shove it into a place and then pull the feathers off. That doesn't really make sense. So yeah, we're still stuck with this weird, it looks like it sat down and died, but how did it get there and when?
Well, I agree. Okay. Mr. Alfred Santoriga asks, could it have been a young camel? They have 2 toes.
That would be very difficult because it actually had leg bones, but the other bones were very tiny, almost like what you see on a T-Rex or a bird's wings, very fine, delicate bones. You don't walk on those. So it was not something that walked on 4 feet.
Okay. And the last question of the night. BF Bud asks, could it have fell or been thrown in the cave?
Well, I can answer that for you. It's impossible because this cave was a quarter of a mile deep and the ground underneath about unknown amount of dirt. And there's no way it could be thrown in there. I mean, you have to be able to, King Kong couldn't do it.
Yeah, you couldn't even see the entrance to the cave from where we were at all.
That picture right there is just a sample of what that cave's like. Just a very small portion of it.
So, all right. Well, I want to say thank you all. I'm so sad that we got off to a rocky start, but we figured it out. We made up for it. You guys got any final thoughts you got for the chat room before we go?
I have one. This is a righteous endeavor to prove our world for what it really is, not just what they say it is. The people out there, mavericks and professionals alike, they bonded in some respects without being acquainted, because we're after a similar thing to find out the absolute truth of our world without some academic telling you what it could be. Well, and then it's not the whole story that that's what it is. Well, it's not necessarily so. And that's all I'm going to say. But thank you for your time with me. I'm impatient, but I'm very determined to find the truth in all things.
MK?
Well, I don't have too much to say about it. I'm sitting here mulling over in my head about the whole thing. You know, it's quite a number of years ago that we did this, and you brought it right back to us. The age-old questions, things that we asked then and didn't have answers for. Now I'm trying to find them again, and I really appreciate the opportunity to sit down and discuss this and show these great pictures and images and video clips. So share with the viewer somewhat, the experience as we saw.
There's still discovery to be had out there, and that's important to realize. And Miss Sharon Day.
Hey, I guess what I would say is if you want more information, I've done a few posts on Chickesaurus and the research I've done on what it could possibly be. And you can find those on ghosthuntingtheories.com. Just type in Chickesaurus. And we've done a lot of evaluations to try to figure this out, looking at photos, comparing it, asking professionals. So it's collectively there.
All right, and we will link that in the bio tomorrow morning once this all posts, for sure. And then we're going to post a link for helping MK out, get this hard drive back, because we need it back for another show we were talking about a couple of days ago. That's going to be very, very important, and it needs to be told, and it needs to be shown. So that'll be on the horizon. My next guests are Bud and Angie from Fun Adventures with Bud and Angie. They're just starting out on their Bigfoot journey, and they're going to be in a couple weeks. So just wanted to get that out of the way. So I want to thank you all for being here. I'll let you go each one at a time. So, Mr. MK Davis, thank you for being here, and hang out backstage, and we'll be right there. Mr. MK Davis. Sharon, I want to thank you so much. You bring the goods every time you show up. You bring the info. You bring the items. You got it all. And I really appreciate all the help, the pictures, and you're like gold to this. And thank you so very much.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Sharon Day. And last but not least, the two Dons and Chip. I want to say thank you so much, you guys, for spending the night with us here. And I'm glad. Sorry, you got a little rocky start, but we got some good information out. The Chickesaurus is out, so if people want to learn more, they can go check it out on Sharon's page. And we will have another Mutt and Jeff coming up. Well, we're not going to tell anybody what it is, but it's going to be another good one. These guys have discovered so much, and I have learned so much from these guys since I started all this, and from Sharon also. There's more discoveries to be had out there, and you should take it from these two guys here who were just crawling around in caves a couple weeks ago, 3 of them, and I give them all the credit in the world because they're out for the truth, they're out for discovery, and that's what we need to do. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Don Monroe and Mr. Don Marriott. Thank you, boys.
Thank you.
I'll see you backstage. All right. Well, that brings us back for our first show after the month of August. You guys all know we went to Snell Grove Lake up in Canada. What a trip we had. We were on Doug Highcheck's show a couple nights ago on Untold Radio. We got to talk a little bit about it, but most of the stuff is under wraps. I can tell you this, that we had really great activity up there, and it was one of a kind. I want to just touch really, before we go, a really soft note. Our friend Kerry Arnold's anniversary date is tomorrow of his horrific passing, and way too early. So if you could keep Linda and everybody in the family in your prayers, I'm sure it'd be well deserved. I miss the guy so much. I think about him every day. He meant a lot to me, and he meant a lot to a lot of other people. So say an extra prayer tomorrow for our friend. I'm sure he's watching in on all of us. And as our friend Larry says, get in the woods, people.